Hi, this is Peter,
Hi, this is Sandra,
and we are medievalist.net.
and today we're coming to you with another episode of.
Game of Thrones.
Okay, I really need to get you a different way to say that, but anyway, we have a lot to cover here, and we're not gonna. They managed to touch on every single character known to man and then some, so we're just gonna talk about some of the more pivotal pieces of tonight's episode. So let's start with.
Daenerys.
Okay, yeah, sure,
Good.
Daenerys. She just kicked ass. Can I just say that? Of all the women on this show, you know, all the female characters, she is just bringing it. Each and every episode, she's getting better and better and stronger. And the thing is she seems so small and sort of timid, and she doesn't carry herself in that kind of hard ass way that Cersei does. But then she'll turn around and just blow your mind, and you're like, "Whoa!" And this was one of those times.
I wasn't shocked that she ultimately betrays this slave dealer guy.
No, but were you shocked about the fact that she knew the Valerian?
Yeah,
I thought she would get the dragon to, to roast him for sure. But the whole thing about blah blah blah, I really speak Valerian.
It was cute, and it pays off.
You're like blah 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 blah.
Like
kill him.
It pays off because he spent that all those 3 episodes just
built up what a
bashing
jerk.
her.
He's like, tell the bitch she has an army.
Yeah.
Just trash talking her, and the whole time she understands him, and that's her mother tongue, and then she just serves his ass on a plate. It's just like, it's like backhand, like bam. Not only does she serve him, she roasts him. And takes his 8,000 unsullied.
Yeah, and kills off every slaver too, which is neat. You see the dragon just,
which I thought was really cool too. Is that how she gave them the option of freedom, and then they still followed her because she's a fair master. I thought that was really good.
So, she's definitely got the best army of.
And she's smart. She's not a twit. She's not a timid little thing.
And. I'm kind of. I guess I'm not too surprised. Her underlings. Those two guys don't say a word in this episode. They're just
Sir Jorah and Sir Barristan kind of are shocked. They're like, "What just happened?"
Yeah, they go, nothing. They can't. There's nothing they can say.
They're floored. That was just priceless. Mm-hmm. When she totally, it was like, That was a Jerry Springer moment. It was great. I loved it.
I think you can see now that Daenerys is supremely confident in her own abilities. Mm-hmm. So, and it's nice that she's got her army. Hopefully she can get to Westeros and start.
And notice her style of rule is completely opposite of her brother, who was a complete shirk and a tyrant. And she's kind of stylized herself as a very firm but fair ruler.
Yeah.
And so I really, really, really enjoyed that. Next interesting scene, I would say Jaime and Brienne, how Brienne's starting to, her whole Stockholm Syndrome thing. They're kind of like, we don't really want to admit we sort of like each other, but we do.
Well, Jaime's kind of sad right now. It's although he has this kind of scene where he kind of fights back and he gets beaten up for it. And she really has to talk him, hey, don't be a loser, just because you had your hand cut off, that you haven't suffered, you haven't suffered like other people have suffered, you deal with your adversity.
She totally gives him a macho conversation, and she says, I know what you did. I know that you lied to prevent me from getting raped. Why? And she kind of brings his spirits up because he sort of stops eating and gives up, and she's like, you got to keep fighting so you can take your revenge.
You remind me though that we shouldn't really be too sympathetic to Jaime, right? He's one of the first thing he does, the first episode,
Chuck Bran out a window,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
having sex with his sister.
So he's not this isn't a guy that's really deserving of our sympathy,
right?
Nor is Theon.
No, and but
That was fun.
it's
You
so
have to say
funny.
that was one of the funniest little bits he actually said.
Yeah, the fact that he's such a dumbass, he gets saved by someone who ultimately betrays him and brings him right back to the castle that he was captured in.
I know, like I don't understand what this guy's really motives is, but it was just a funny kind of scene.
It's like,
Hey, I found him. He killed everyone else, but I got him.
oh, and he
Back
has
to the Stratford.
he has this whole heart wrenching confession about the things he did when he was taking over Winterfell and stuff, and what a jackass he was, and then he gets captured anyway. So all these little snippets that were building up were just like, hey, we took you back around, right back to where you ran away from.
This is how sometimes how Game of Thrones really does well at kind of delivering, where you get the characters, you basically hear the character talk and his thoughts for a few minutes and stuff like that, and these kind of scenes. And this whole kind of setup was just to get him to have this kind of moment of, confession, and talk about
And
himself.
then he gets thrown back.
And then he gets thrown back. And it's pretty well done, I have to say. Although I'm sure there must be some more meaning to this whole thing than just to have the guy who's just for fun. Take Theon out, save him, and bring him back.
And then we have this interesting discussion in King's Landing. We have all these really interesting conversations, Cersei and Tywin, and Varys and Littlefinger's top hooker.
Yeah.
I don't know her name.
Red,
The head of his brothel. And then all the plotting and scheming and Tyrion with Varys, and Varys takes a very center stage in this episode, and I like that. He's another really interesting character, and the other sideline to that is again Marjorie and just how smart she is, and Cersei sees it. She tells Tywin she's manipulating Joff. She's totally knows what she's doing. She's got her claws in him. She's playing to all his sicko, psycho, narcissistic kind of behavior.
She does an excellent job, and she's like also, and you can kind of see how she's just angling herself also as to be the queen, even though she's not even married yet, and she's already gained that position of power. Like she's the one with Joffrey. Waving her hands and getting the crowds and stuff like that.
What I thought was funny is her grandmother's like mocking the family emblem, which is a yellow rose of Tyrell grow strong, and she's like, "What kind of a lame ass?"
Oh, was that
thing? She said, "Winter is coming." Sounds so much more memorable. But the funny thing is her granddaughter, is growing strong, and she's kind of like, roses have thorns, and they're beautiful, but they prick you. And Marjorie is very wise. She's sort of learning how to grow in a patch of weeds. She's surrounded by Lannisters, and she's holding her own really well. And even though Cersei sees it, even Tywin sees it, and he completely smacks his daughter down. He's like, you think you're smarter than you are? I wish you were smart enough to do what that girl is doing with Joffrey, because he runs right over you, and at least she can control him.
It's good.
That was a really good conversation.
Yeah, it's good to see Tywin has his father-daughter relationship. It's just as good as his father-son relationship.
No card for him on Father's Day this year.
An amazing kind of scene to begin with Varys and Tyrion, where Varys kind of reveals that, and that's something a little hanging from season 2 was how did I get castrated, right? And he reveals that, and it's all about talking about revenge, and
revenge is the key in this one,
and just that that how it ends, like if just how that kind of scene ends with the opening of the crate, and you find out who's in there.
Well, the guy who castrated him.
And
it's so crazy.
And
so crazy that Varys went to those lengths.
And
to claw his way to the top.
And you can see Varys is a very patient guy, and you can also see that Varys is also
very dangerous.
Yeah, and like he's like his when he comes up with Sansa, the like all the issues with Sansa, you can see how Sansa's being played, and I think I really realize now why she's being kept around is that she could be just a potential pawn for controlling the King of the North if Jaime Jaime died.
From Littlefinger, because Littlefinger has no titles, and if he marries her, he gets titles and stuff. And the thing is, you realize just how stupid Sansa is. I never liked her character. Even in the books, I just, Marjorie here compared to her, she's just... Sansa's finally realizing and taking off her rose-colored glasses, but they had to be knocked right off of her face.
Oh no, I think she's still got those rose-colored. Like, oh, I can get married now with your sister.
Sir Loras, Sir Loras Tyrell, who's gay. Yeah, because that's going to be a great marriage. He's screwing Renly before.
Well, she doesn't realize.
No, she doesn't know that, of course.
But she doesn't know even realize her own importance like the way others do.
No, and she's not aware. She's still in La La Land, and Marjorie's just running circles around her in terms of PR and handling Joffrey. She's just dumb. I really, after seeing her and Marjorie's like, and you can marry my brother. And Sansa's like, yay! I just was like, what's wrong with you? Like, where are your priorities? She's just... the character, I loathe her. I really do.
I don't loathe her. I think I kind of think of her as this, as there always are characters like that, which are ones that get played, and get played and get played, and if she survives long enough, she might actually get learn some lessons, but she's still pretty young, so I think a character like that, if she can survive. She may get it. Maybe we'll see that in like season 7 or something like that.
So continuing, lastly, we'll touch on another scene before we sign off. Is more revenge? Is basically Sam Tarly and the Night Watch are at I believe his name is Craster, the odious, nasty man who sleeps with his daughters and has over 99 sons and exposes them. So that outbreak there was crazy.
I think the Night Watch must be the worst army, the worst group I've ever they're just kind of pathetic. Like you kind of start they're basically like gardening, and taking care of the farm for a guy instead of actually doing anything. Isn't there supposed to be White Walkers that they're supposed to be trying to at least fight
the others or whatever? But they're starving and stuff, and they're at this guy's place,
and they don't kill this guy until one guy does it. Just has enough in the end, and they wind up just slaughtering each other.
Right, because there were already factions within them, and Sam Tarly manages to help that poor girl who had the baby, who she knew the baby would get exposed, and they escape into the night because those were the guys who wanted to leave Sam behind and see him die in the cold. And as that one guy was running out, he's like yelling about Piggy and how he's gonna find him and kill him too and slit his throat or whatever.
Wow. Hopefully that'll be the end of this little group of the Night Watch.
That was a revenge against Craster. So the whole episode this time was revenge.
Yeah, that was a big theme of the show, and it's a good theme to have. So, in the end, we won't talk about Bran or anyone else.
There was so many smaller snippets, Arya and the Hound and Bran, but they were very, again, fleeting. The ones that we picked out, we felt were sort of more important.
Well,
or more time was spent on them.
Those were the good scenes.
Those were the good scenes.
Like, and in fact, I think we both really liked this episode.
I did. I enjoyed it much more than the previous one, and I thought I like when other characters come out. Like, I hadn't seen a lot on Varys in a while, and he's always been a favorite of mine in the books. So I like all the scenes with him in it, and he had a major role. And then again, the whole thing with Dany and the dragons and the smackdown with the Unsullied was just brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah, it was good much of action. We had a lot of kind of movement with the characters where things are happening. And we also just had some great kind of talking scenes as well. So I think overall I was really pleased, really happy. It's
yeah, and I'm looking forward to next week. So don't forget, we'll be reviewing another fascinating and fun episode of
Game of Thrones.
Thanks, guys.